Everybody, welcome to Morocco. We have just seen the tail end of a little bit of a sandstorm. We're at the 790, KTM 790 Adventure and 790 Adventure R, which is the one behind me. It's been a 2-day intro that we've been riding these brand new bikes from KTM. These are hugely anticipated bikes. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. We're going to start off with the 790, and here is the tech stuff.
The 790 is aimed more at road users and uses the same 799cc parallel twin liquid-cooled 4-stroke motor as the 790 Duke, with different cam timings and a different intake to give 95 horsepower at 8,250 RPM and 65 pounds-feet of torque at 6,600 RPM. Weight is claimed at 460 pounds with a full tank of gas ready to ride for both the base 790 and the 790 Adventure R. Mated to a 6-speed gearbox and wrapped in a KTM standard tubular steel frame, the base model 790 differs from the Adventure R by way of an unadjustable 43mm WP fork and a preload adjustable WP shock, and a lower seat height of between 32.6 inches and 33.4 inches compared to the R model's 34.6 inch tall seat. There's also different bodywork, a 2-piece seat, Avon Trail Rider all-terrain tyres, and you get 3 of the 4 riding modes as standard in the road, rain and off-road maps, with rally mode an optional extra, as is the Quick Shifter Plus, cruise control and heated grips. Standard fitment on the 790 is traction control, switchable ABS, and all for an MSRP in the US of $12,499.
So yesterday when we were out riding the 790 Adventure, it was actually a pretty short ride. It's a very nice bike. It's quite lower in comparison to the 790 Adventure R behind me. It's much more suited to just standard street riding, really. It'd actually be a really good commuter bike. It's a very, like that motor, that 790 Adventure motor. Look, it's a delightfully smooth throttle response. You have, you've got your different riding modes as well. If you're on the 790 Adventure in street or rain mode, you cannot change the traction control intervention, but you can do that if you put the optional rally mode on your 790 on your street bike. The suspension on the 790 Adventure is unadjustable at the front and preload only on the rear. I gotta say, I wasn't a huge fan of the front suspension action on the 790, the base model 790. It does have quite a harsh thump when you hit sharp edges and that kind of stuff. It does have a bit of a sort of decent thud to it. So maybe high-speed compression could be a bit better, I think. But look, you are talking an unadjustable fork. It is designed for commuting, sort of highway miles and that kind of stuff. And as a highway bike, it'd be a great thing. It's when you start hitting, crappy pavement and things like that, it starts to get a little unsettled. Rear shock action was pretty good. Again, it's not a top of the line level shock, so there are little bits and pieces. It does have a slightly quicker rebound sort of feeling, so when you get on the gas it can kind of sit itself up a little bit more than maybe I would have liked. But again, it's designed purely as a main sort of commuting sort of bike. If you really want the fruit, then you're going to go for this one behind us. KTM across the board now have started coming in with TFT displays, big TFT displays too, and they're very easily adjustable. And that's one of the great things. For so many years, the dashes were kind of an afterthought with a lot of these bikes, but now KTM's really got this game pretty licked. Super easy to adjust, very easy to read. Look, overall, the 790, the base 790 Adventure, it's a good commuter bike. I think if you're planning to do big miles, you might want to look at something a little further up the road, provided you either of the physical size to handle something like a 1090 or an older 1190 or even a 1290, something like that. The standard base 790 will work really well for people with a short inseam. So guys and girls are a little bit shorter than sort of 6 foot or so will find it very good. I found the comfort overall to be a little cramped. It's got quite a low seat height, so from the arms to the bars I found were pretty good, but from the bum to the feet I found a little bit cramped. So that's all good. It's designed for probably a shorter rider than me. I'm just a touch over 6 foot, so yeah, that's all good. And as a commuter bike, not bad, and pretty good value for money as well. This comes to the good part now. if you've ever been out real adventure riding, you know how much fun it is. Like, I love adventure riding. I haven't done anywhere near enough of it, but I'm pretty turned on now to the 790 Adventure. I've had BMW GSs, I've had KTM Adventures, all of which have been big bikes. And look, they're handfuls to be able to ride properly in the dirt and the dust, and especially when you get into that really loose topsoil kind of stuff, and that weight can really get behind you. Mid-size adventure bikes, ladies and gentlemen, they are the ticket. That's where it's at. This is the KTM 790 Adventure R. Let's get into the tech stuff.
The 790 Adventure R runs the same motor and chassis as the base 790, but gets the brand new 48mm WP Explorer fork and PDS shock, both fully adjustable for ultimate off-road performance. Standard fitment with the R is also the rally mode that allows you to independently vary the throttle response from one of 3 maps and allows you to change traction control settings on the fly, something you can't do in the road, rain or off-road settings. You also get much more aggressive Metzeler Karoo 3 adventure tyres and dual sport style bodywork, with the Adventure R coming in $1,000 more than the base model at $13,499 in the United States.
Okay, so the engine is the same across the board, 95 horsepower, and it makes its torque a fair bit earlier in the rev range as well. Like peak torque, about 2,000 RPM less than something like the 790 Duke, for example. But the good thing about that is, like, it does, like, when you think it takes 2,000 RPM off the top of the peak power, it also makes it 2,000 RPM earlier in the range as well. So when you're talking sort of 3,000, 4,000 RPM, you're getting a lot of that torque, and that's really where this bike shines a lot. You know, it really cranks through really well, especially when you get into a lot of the really like loose stuff and like stuff that really gets you tied in knots on a big bike. You can let this thing chug along at sort of 2,000, 3,000 RPM, and it just goes and off you go. Like, so earlier on today we went through, I've never really ridden a big bike in big dunes before. Like, I've ridden in dunes on dirt bikes, but not really something like this, and it just ate it up. That motor just kind of chugs along, it just kind of finds its happy spot and just kind of pulls along, like almost like a bit like a four-wheel drive goes into low range. My favorite part of the 790 Adventure R, bar none, is the suspension. The front and rear suspension, but especially the front. That front tracks so nicely. It's the Explorer 48mm fork. So the base model has a 43mm fork, an unadjustable 43mm fork. This one has the big dogs, the 48mm Explorer forks. They are brilliant. They are really, really good. These are not electronically adjusted. These are old school conventional forks. Conventional suspension, when set up right, is always better than electronic suspension. This thing is set up so well now that you can, someone from Quinn Cody's level down to my level, or down to a very new sort of general punter's level, it has such great feel. Like, you can really just sort of track where you want to go. Like, we were going through sections today that had everything in the space of a mile, everything from soft sand to hard packed rock to, you know, big washouts to whatever you want, and everything picked its line nice and well. Didn't like it if you got right over the front, but a lot of that had to do with the kind of terrain that you're in, so you needed to just let the thing sort of pick its line and just kick back and, you know, be nice and light on the handlebars, and it just did it lovely. It was a really, really cool thing. The fact that it doesn't weigh as much as a big bike as well helps it in that regard. It helps it kind of float over boats, over bumps, rather than sort of plow through them, I guess, like what you get with a lot of bigger bikes too. So yeah, that's something else. But yeah, the motor is very, very good. The suspension is brilliant. Comfort is very, very good too. And because this is like as you saw in the specs with in the tech stuff with the seat heights, this is a taller bike as well, and as a result it has a much more, particularly with that suspension, it just has a stiffer feel. The whole bike just feels more taut, more sort of balanced. It doesn't get as easily upset over sort of road corrugations, especially not on trail stuff. That's where it really eats it up. You know, the stuff with like the 790 Adventure, the base 790 Adventure, it has pretty good road suspension, but it doesn't go that well off-road, whereas the 790 Adventure R has pretty good road suspension and excellent off-road suspension. So you kind of, it's like a you have to exchange a little bit to get some in another area. But for me, absolutely, I'll take the 790 Adventure R over that any day as far as its performance or the suspension goes. So if you're going real adventure riding, then you want to make sure you got fuel range. Having the ability to make sure you have enough fuel in there is one of the great things about big tank adventure bikes. So 5.3 gallons tank on this thing. It's 280 miles between tanks, and that's provided that you don't go blasting the thing up and spinning it up everywhere. That 280 miles between fill ups, it's not bad. Like you can pretty much plan most places around the world between 280 miles of fuel stops, so that's very good as well. Also, one of the things with where the tanks are as well, I mean, the tanks are down here, goes from there to there, I should say. That also helps a lot with weight distribution as well. So the fuel sort of comes down either side of the motor, rather than having all the fuel up high or having the fuel at the back of the seat like it's been on some manufacturers in the past. When the thing starts to get low on fuel, it would throw the weight balance off a fair bit, or even when it was filled right up and you'd have all that weight sitting at the back of the bike. So that makes a big difference as well, and just how the bike handles, again, in the loose stuff and all that kind of stuff, and also on the road. I mean, it all makes a pretty big difference. KTM has had a bit of an issue in the past with long air filter changes, shall we say. That's another enemy of the adventure rider. You want to make sure the thing's easy to work on and just get it done. Now you can knock this thing out in about 5 minutes. You can take the seat off there, and it's just there, kind of almost in line with the top of the 45-degree angle shock. It's just out she comes, and you can knock that thing over super quick. That's going to be another big thing that adventure riders are really going to love. I had a bit of a light bulb moment today. Everyone some people give, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people give traction control a bad rap, especially when it comes to dirt bikes. Really, this is a dirt bike, by the way. This is like a big dirt bike. This isn't a road bike turned into an adventure bike. This is a dirt bike turned into an adventure bike. So that gives you a bit of an idea of the balance and how nimble the thing is and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, we had a bit of time earlier today when we were kind of playing around and just enjoying the rocks and the scenery and all that kind of stuff. And I went up one section that was really, really rocky. And I think I'm all right on that kind of stuff. So I kind of got 3/4 of the way up, and it just started to spin out, stop. And I was like, oh man. And so I turned around, came back, and went, I'm not going to try that again. And then Quinn Cody, who was one of the guys that helped set this thing up, he goes, look, turn around, put the thing in level 7 traction control, and then get into it, and then just start creeping up, and just don't get off the throttle, just pull itself up. And I went, all right, keep the revs down. Oh God, it just goes right up it. Yeah, buddy. So switched her on to level 7 traction control, and second gear, and it just went just like like that low range 4-wheel drive that you see the trucks do. They just find the gnarly hills and they just climb up it, and that's exactly what this thing did. It was a real light bulb moment, and I went, man, I've been using traction control wrong on adventure bikes this whole time. I mean, yes, you use it for keeping the thing in line under acceleration, but where the traction control system, the MTS or the MTC motorcycle traction control system works the better on something like this is in that really low speed stuff, because it allows you to get to areas that you never thought you'd actually get to. And that's one of the great things about adventure riding. The whole thing is designed to get you out of your comfort zone, and this, I would admit, a couple of points I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get up here, and sure enough, just up it goes. And look, excellent, really, really, really good system. KTM's got a lot of electronics, obviously, with the traction control system, the ABS system as well. You also get optional quick shifter with this. Don't know how needed it is, especially off-road. I actually hit it quite a few times because it's a touchy system. It's very similar to the system that you find on something like Super Duke and that kind of stuff, which is designed as a racetrack system where it's like smack, 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 and you belt through the gears. When you're on an off-road bike like this, it can be a little touchy. You just need to be conscious of when you click the gear lever and then you move your foot out of the way, so at least then you'll ensure that you don't sort of mess up. Because I had a couple of times, particularly in the dunes, where I was sort of riding along and then I snicked the gear, and it actually, because I was such a light shift, it kind of false neutral. That's not a lot of fun when you've got a bike as heavy as that on the side of a big ass dune. So yeah, that's you just little word of warning there. But look, on the street it works great. I mean, it's a 9.3 butter thing. It's just snick. You have to back off the throttle really easy. I'm wrapped. I love this thing. I absolutely love this thing. Mid-size. Here's the thing for you. If you actually go real adventure riding, then you'll know that weight is the opposite of what you want. You want to have something that's nice and light on its feet. That's why dirt bikes are dirt bikes. That's why they're lighter every year. And it's good to see that something like this is as I said before, this is a dirt bike that's been made into a adventure bike. Like back in the days of like the 950s and the 990 KTMs, you go adventure riding anywhere around the world and you still see those things. On another scale today, I hate to bring up another manufacturer, but we saw a bunch of Yamaha single-cylinder Teneres that haven't been sold for years. Like you want something that's a little bit bigger, but maybe not quite a dirt bike. This thing is the missing link, really, for KTM, and I've got no doubt it's going to be. I have no doubt that this thing will become a tire-selling adventure bike. I will eat my hat if it doesn't, because it's one of those bikes that everybody can get on and ride. You can be Quinn Cody's level, you can be a punter off the streets level, you can be anywhere in between, and you'll get on that thing and go. You'll find enough in it to be challenged by it, and enough in it never to be bored by it. And it's got all the electronic bells and whistles that you want. It has all the right rider aids. The rider aids are easy to use. The engine has more than enough horsepower at 95 odd horsepower. The weight is very good. The balance of the 790 Adventure R is brilliant. Like, it's off-road, it's so good. I mean, on-road, yes, you take a little bit of consideration out of it because it is a dirt bike turned into an adventure bike rather than a road bike turned into an adventure bike. So you take that little piece in there as well. But look, as a straight up project from KTM, they have done really, really well with this bike. It's awesome.